Welcome to So I Finally! The title's a work in progress. The series where I talk about random things that could have been part of my childhood, but never were. So to make up for it, I take the time to go through them now in hopes they'll make me seem less like an asshole. It's once again Halloween, and even though we all finally got that vaccine, I'm still hoping to not be bothered by trick-or-treaters this year. So after almost going through a meltdown last year, I decided to not go as extreme for the specials this year. That's right, specials. I've got more than one this time, but you already know what the other one is, assuming you've seen the trailer weeks ago. I've been around Scooby-Doo almost my whole life, so I don't have to cover that in this video. Instead, I'm going to talk about something a bit more modern, something I never watched until earlier this year, and something with a bit more funk, but just as much spook, and kind of the same atmosphere in general. That's right, it's the Mystery Skulls animated series. Mystery Skulls Animated is a series of music videos that all connect each other through the same story, with characters that resemble those from Scooby-Doo as they go through similar shenanigans, around the beginning at least. But instead of us and Roberts providing the soundtrack, we get to listen to the electronica jams from Mystery Skulls. Despite the releases for most of these episodes, the first episode itself came out in 2014, and I was still in high school back then, so I'm allowed to talk about the show here. Now before I actually go into the series, I'm going to start by looking into Mystery Skulls themselves. No, not the characters! The band! This whole adventure started with one man, and that man was Louis Dubuk, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, also known as Mystery Skulls. His music debut started in 2004, with a band that went by the name 30 Called Arson, where he worked as the drummer, after the last one quit. As the year went on, he was building up his music skill to the point where he decided to start his own solo legacy through a one-man music group, although at the time, he went by a different name. He didn't go by Mystery Skulls just yet. He decided to call himself The Secret Handshake, which ended up growing into a success. But by 2011, Louis decided to scrap the name The Secret Handshake, and from that day forward, he went under another name. That name we all know him by nowadays, Mystery Skulls. As Louis was starting back up under his new name, he got a bit of a boost from WB themselves, which helped him get a chance to collaborate with other musicians, such as Brandy Norwood and Belated. May God rest his soul. But then, in late 2013, Louis released his masterpiece, the song that started it all, Ghost. And in early 2014, he got a music video made for it. The story for that video kind of follows the plot of Exorcist, but as a spoof on it. The video of course became successful, but this adventure didn't start until later that same year, around Halloween, when another music video was made for the song, which became the start of this series. The video was created by animator Ben Magnum, or Mystery Ben 27 as many call him. In the early years, Ben has made other animated shorts that got him some recognition, like some My Little Pony shorts and a gag for Ponies the Anthology. Damn, I totally forgot about that one. He even made another Mystery Skulls music video that focused on Ace Attorney, but it wasn't until 2014 when he released his own music video for the Ghost song. Ben had no way of knowing this, but this one video would end up changing his life, and it turned into his greatest triumph. The video was basically a spoof on Scooby-Doo with characters that represented the original characters. There was Arthur, who represents Shaggy, Vivi for Velma, Louis for Fred, and there's more to him than meets the eye, which I'll get to in a bit, and Mystery for Scoob. But wait, where's Daphne? I can't be the only one who noticed this. Where is she? Am I missing something? Is it her? Maybe I'm starting to sound crazy. I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say that Vive's supposed to be Daphne as well as Velma? Again, I'll go into my reason later. I have to say it straight up. The first episode of the series is incredible. Probably my favorite in the series so far. This episode alone can display all the charm you're in for with these videos. There's so many colors and the characters and objects move so fluently with the music. It's kind of like Fantasia, but here the music's less classy and more funky. Speaking of the visuals, even though it's a very minor detail, I really like the Easter egg portraits. That was a really nice touch. They all had some connection to Ben's previous videos, or Mystery Skulls in general. There's Rarity, Edgeworth, the priest from the original music video, a wrestler from Rhythm Heaven, I think, and 2 vacant paintings. As for the song, I know I'm gonna sound a little biased, but Ghost is my favorite Mystery Skull song that I've heard so far. And I've listened to a handful of them already. It's just one of those tunes that I can really jam to. Anyway, due to the unexpected success from the first video, Ben was given the motivation to turn it into the start of a whole series. So he had to add more elements and flesh the story out a little. He created the new character Shiramori, who teams up with Louis later on. Louis's goal throughout the series is that he wants his revenge on Arthur after dying by his hand, even though Arthur had no control over that. He also wants to get back with Vivi, as after all this time, he's still in love with her. And that comes to the conclusion on Vivi's appearance. She may have a lot of Velma-like details, such as the glasses sweater skirt combo, but as far as I remember, she never had a headband. That was usually Daphne's thing. Plus there's the scarf, which is supposed to be an ascot, and just the connection with Fred, aka Lewis, that's where the subtlety starts spilling out. And that's why Vivi was always my favorite character in the series. Not just because she's so damn cute, but the idea of a Velma-Daphne hybrid is just so neat. Oh, and there's her connection with Mushi, which I'll get to later. In 2016, Ben released the second episode, Freaking Out. Just like the first episode, the name was based on the song that centers around it. That ends up being one of the running gimmicks in the series. And this one was about as eventful as the first episode. This one delivers enough to flesh out the story even more. This was where Shiramori was introduced, and she teams up with Lewis. He ends up hijacking a truck, and they leave another hint towards Mystery's backstory. But the story just keeps escalating from there. Also, Ben gave a special credit to Blake Hudson, one of the animators on the team. I haven't been able to find much else on him, but I'm glad he's getting recognition. Then in 2018, episode 3, Hellbent got released. This is where the story really starts kicking again. First detail for a start, Ben and his team decided to add a bit more substance to the story without the aid of a Mystery Skull song. But only for the first scene of the episode. Then they kick it into jamming gear. I actually found this to be an interesting change of tone. The last two episodes completely built their story on each of their songs, but giving this one some additional story before the song starts was pretty neat. I always like seeing that kind of setup in music videos. And for the first time, we got a full-out car chase scene. And this is where the climax really starts. After teaming up in the last episode, Lewis and Shiramori are ready to get back at Arthur. And after all this time, Arthur finds out the ghost's secret, leading up to the second biggest cliffhanger that the crew could have thrown at us, as well as hints at some possible lore for later on. And now this brings us to the most recent video, episode 4, The Future, released last Halloween. As Ben said a while back, he was planning on this series to run for 6 episodes at the most, and it's starting to look like that just might be the case based on what we got from this one, and holy crap, this one had so much to offer! For the first time in the series, Vivi and Shiramori get into a full-out fight. Mystery reveals his true form, and Arthur and Lewis finally decide to call a truce, for the time being at least. There's a dramatic scene where it looks like Mystery's about to die, and I admit, despite the upbeat tune, I was also starting to get emotional. But then he gets possessed, and this is what I consider the biggest cliffhanger of the series, because we still don't know how they're going to resolve this. I'm sorry to say, but for now, this is the end of the Mystery Skulls animated series. Honestly, the future episode was far more impressive than I thought it was going to be. I built my expectations off of the previous episode, Hellbent, which that alone had a lot to top, and they proudly exceeded them. It's gotta be my favorite episode of the series, right next to the Ghost episode. And just like a lot of others who've been watching this series, I'm dying to see what's to come in the last few episodes. Based on the events from the future, it's easy to tell they're gonna tie up all the loose ends, and they've been blowing us away with the results. Looking back on this series, I've already got some questions that are still in mind. Whatever happened to Shiramori? Could her backstory be similar to what Lewis went through? Or what about Mushi, the swordswoman? Could she really be related to Vivi? And most importantly, what's gonna happen to Mystery? Well, only time will tell. It doesn't seem like the new episode's gonna be finished this year, so we'll just have to wait. But if by chance it happens to be finished and released before the day this is uploaded, I'll just cut this portion out and excitedly dive into it. But for now, it seems like that'll have to be for a separate video. I love how this series is turning out. And to think, it took me till this year to finally check it out. Well, next up, episode 5, whenever it comes out. Happy Halloween, everyone!
This time I might just disappear. This time I might just disappear.